We live in a fast-paced and hectic world where it's easy to feel overwhelmed, stressed, and out of control. How do you manage all the competing pressures without losing sense of yourself? How do you stay focused enough to not only plot a path, but follow it? Welcome to Recovery Road, a show that offers inspiration, insight, and intelligence, as well as success stories from many walks of life that can show you how you can control your own destiny. Our knowledgeable and entertaining hosts and their guests give practical advice that you can use every day on your road to recovery. Now, here are your hosts, Leaha Mattinson and Greg Bird.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Master Your Life, the show of insight, intelligence, and inspiration, where we ask you each episode to consider who is it you are right now and what kind of life are you trying to create? Who is it you most aspire to be? And do you have a little bit of, room to work on, or the things you really want that you're not quite achieving? Well, that's what we address on this show. And we invite guests who are inspirational and intelligent to share their wisdom with our audience. And this week, we've been doing this now for 11 episodes, Greg, and we've been having lots of fun. So welcome to my wonderful co-host, Greg Bird. Greg, thanks for joining me again.
Thank you, Leaha.
Yes.
What an amazing opportunity we have today. So we have the dear Yugandhara Lad, all the way from India. So, crowned Mrs. India, a big entrepreneur in business, humanitarian, doing some really neat things in the world of philanthropy. So please, everybody, welcome Yuga. Welcome.
Welcome, Yuga.
Namaste.
So how in the world did you and Greg meet? How did you connect? You're in India, Greg's in Canada.
Yeah.
Good question.
I know. Nobody asked us this ever before. So it was through BNI. Greg is the president of BNI Enterprise Chapter in Edmonton, Canada, and I, was a visitor in the chapter, and that's how we met. And things clicked, and we just felt the good vibes, and we started connecting, and that's how, we are here now.
Well, I tell you, when you first visited our chapter, we had International Visitors Week. So BNI reached out. There's well over 270,000 members worldwide. And we reached out to Ritesh, actually, from Thumbstack. And he says, no, I'm going to send this Yuga. You'll love her. And we're like, okay. So we put on, the second Yuga pops on the screen, she just lit up the room. Like nothing like lighting up a virtual room. that glow that you see, again, that's real. Yeah, so I must say, out of all the visitors, there's two visitors to our chapter that have been exemplary. Leaha, you were one, and Yuga, you were the other. In just these last few months, how we were able to connect. So Yuga, just my pleasure to have you here on Leaha's show, because you have done some amazing things. And before we get into all the amazing things you've done, we always love to kick off our show with the meme of the day.
Absolutely. And it is time.
So inspirational meme of the day. We're training everybody to get through the garbage, and the never-ending garbage.
That's right.
On social media. And here was a good one. And my mom's going to love this one, because her best friend, Kathy, growing up, had a daughter named Stacy, who was my age. We rode the bus together. All three of us actually used to ride the bus together. Stacy Rosiska, this is for you. Your post, as they're going to change things in the world here. So this is a real nice, deep one when I sent you this one. So here it is. Yeah. Things turn out best for people who make the best out of the way things turn out. Isn't that a nice?
Oh my God.
Isn't that gives you goosebumps, doesn't it? Excellent.
Wow, that was amazing.
So I tell you what, that was a really neat thing to really kind of set the tone for today. And Yuga, I just want to start off. Let's rewind the clock back for you. You got crowned Mrs. India. Let's dive right into that. Tell us a little bit about that experience, because that's not an easy feat by any means.
So it was Mrs. India International in the year 2015. And that experience changed my life. The day I was crowned on 25th April 2015 was the day there was a massive earthquake in the country of Nepal, and immediately after getting crowned, I decided I will go to Nepal and do whatever I could, with the crown and with the power of the crown for the kids and, the people who were stuck there. Almost 10,000 people lost their life in that earthquake. And I was, it was fortunate that I won the crown, and, immediately NGOs, collaborated with me, and we all went to Nepal, traveled to Nepal. We helped, provide food and water to all those people who needed it. And literally, we were walking on buried dead bodies. It was a very, very different experience for me, especially. I saw an old man sitting right there. He was just quiet. He was sitting right outside a broken house, and he was just quiet. And when I went and asked him what happened, out of curiosity and out of, I thought he needed someone to talk to. He said, my son and my entire family died right here where you're standing, and my son died helping someone else rescue.
Yeah.
So it really, the entire experience changed my perspective towards life. Till then I was very academically oriented. I was just thinking about a good career, my job, my family, just mine. But then after that moment, I thought, no, it's everything that we do is for the society. We should contribute towards the society, whatever little bit we can, because there are so many underprivileged people out there who need us.
Yeah,
so
it's a really incredible story, because the timing, you must have been actually cast in this role, is what I think. The divine hand, has set the stage for you to be doing this work that you're doing. Because a lot of people could have walked into that scene and gone, holy man, this is not for me. I am out of here. Took the crown and just run. Book it. I can be
I'm going to leave the crown. I'm going to leave it behind.
But you didn't, and so that shows a lot of strength of character and a lot of courage. That's what when I first heard that, story, I went, wow, that's a lot of people, because you had a choice about running away. You didn't choose to run away. You chose to actually stay and help. And incredibly, you have continued to do that. So what was the next thing that you sort of took on after helping at that scene and helping with, the recovery of that flood site? What was the next thing, or earthquake site what was the next thing that you took on?
So later on, I collaborated with different NGOs. One specific NGO worked for saving the Indian farmers. At that particular time, there were a lot of cases of farmer suicides in India for different reasons. Mental health, loans, debt, different government policies for the farmers. So it was a huge issue, every single day in the news, you were hearing 50 farmers committed suicide. So I being an environmental engineer, I wanted to, do something for them. I designed an irrigation system in a very small village, which helped cater 30 villages with good water supply. And also collaborated with NGOs talking about Indian farmers' suicide awareness. And, and then the NGO was helping those farmers in villages set up rain harvesting technology. So these were the small contributions that I, through the NGO, was doing for the farmers.
Well, that hits pretty close to home. We're both farming families growing up. And, you look at a lot of the debt, actually, that a lot of farming families have accumulated. And, whether that is an attribution to, mental health, and it's got to be. You think of the stress that some people go through with the debt loads, and farming being one thing, but think of the debt loads that people around the world right now over this last year year and a half are experiencing. So it's such a tough thing to manage. And we've seen it. We've seen it right down now into our own small community where we grew up, where there was a farming family, and again, some pretty serious issues where mental health came in, and again with suicide. And we're seeing a rise in Canada. It's alarming.
Yeah, I think that we're at about 30% increase in suicides in men, and flashback to like men in general, just all of them. The early days of farming here in Alberta, my grandfather came over from England and looked at a piece of land that he had pre-purchased and went, when he got here, he went, no, this is not a good place for growing crops. So then they bought land, further south and further east and south. And then it was good producing land. So when you talk about India and the agriculture scene there, it sounds similar to me. And one of the things my dad was reflecting on when he was talking about these old farming families is that a lot of the fathers had heart attacks. And it was because they had taken out loans to pay for, their farms, and then they couldn't pay the loans, and the loans got called, and then they were losing their farms. They didn't know how to support their families. And though people didn't necessarily attribute it to that, it's like, as my dad was reflecting back, he's 82 now. We were recently talking about this, and he was sharing these stories. I'm like, yeah, well, I can see why they would have been having heart attacks, because of just the amount of the workload, the stress, not being able to provide for your family when that's your job, or you feel like it's your job as the male, protect, provide, profess, stake your claim, and, and make it happen. So Indian farmers sound like they're very similar to Canadian farmers, or, maybe it's a worldwide thing where, people who there are stewards of the land and are trying to make something happen, and they can't, get very frustrated, and then it shows up in their health. Which is kind of what this show is about too, right? The divine health and the financial well-being. So with your work with those farmers, you're very humble. I love, it's like, well, I created a little irrigation system, and then we had
just a little irrigation system.
That would probably be a bit more
bigger project than I think she led on to there.
Right. Yes, exactly. The other thing in recent news in New Delhi is that the recent stats for farmers there is that there was 10,000 farmers that had committed suicide in 2020. And so there's lots of things politically going on. We won't get into the weeds too much about that, but the numbers of suicides really should be alarming to people. We're put on this planet to have a good time, and clearly lots of people are not having a very good time right now. Yeah, absolutely.
India being an agricultural, country, almost 11% of the total suicides in India are, farmers committing suicide. So it's a very alarming concern. And I think the government should and is probably, bringing in a lot of policies that might revolutionize the Indian farmers, but it'll gradually happen. It'll take time, because India's population is huge. It's 1.3 billion. And to administer all of them, with different policies, it'll definitely change, but eventually and gradually. So hoping for a good future for Indian farmers.
Yes.
I have a question though.
Yeah, go ahead.
So India has a tropical, weather throughout. But in Canada, with mostly winters, what do the farmers do during the winters? I have this question.
Go ahead.
That's a great question. So I'll speak from experience in our family farm, as we had a cattle farm as well. Mm-hmm. So during the winter months, obviously the calving season is, I don't know why in the 40 below that we used to have calving in January, but that was the thing. Mm-hmm. So I still remember my dad and grandpa and Uncle Ron being out there delivering calves at all hours of the night. I'm like, oh my God, I think you guys are crazy. But that was the way we made money as farmers. So we had both. We had the grain crops, and then we had the cattle. And then since then has turned to pigs and goats and sheep and whatever else. So that's a great question, Yuga, and a great perspective to share for you. Back to there. Now, did that answer your question? That's just from one perspective.
Yes. I always used to wonder, because I lived in the United States for few years, and then I used to wonder what are the farmers doing during the winter. So we used to go out for strawberry picking and apple picking during the summers, but I used to be, what are they doing now during the winters? It's minus 20 degrees out there. But now I get it.
Well, and I think also there's been diversification, and there are people who are doing greenhouse operations throughout the year. So depending on the size of the farm, growing all kinds of things, vegetables, pot. Just, yes, that was my look.
Not on our farm.
Oh, sorry, that was a look. Is that obvious?
So is it legal out there in Canada?
Sorry, what was that, Yuga?
Is it legal to grow pot?
We're not going to go on that segment, but
it's legal to grow it and it's legal to consume it now. It just in the last few years it's become legalized. So that's another huge conversation that we don't really want to get in the super weeds on, because we want to focus on you and your successes. But it's been a very challenging time, I think, in 2020 and 2021 for anyone who's been dealing with addictions of all kinds. I think medical marijuana has its place for helping people to heal, but that's certainly not everybody. And it's been very much, the outcome has been a lot of people are numbed really out to everything emotional. And when you can't feel anything, you can't appropriately emotionally respond to the things that are going on in your life. So it's a little bit of trickery to ease the pain. The coronavirus festival. Let's just put that. That's my new.
Not a shenanigans anymore. It's a festival.
That's
So I just want to build a little segue off of that. We talked a little bit about debt and how that can become insurmountable for some folks. And that in financial planning, just to throw a little bit of financial wellness coaching in there, that's one of the big things any of my advisors work with clients on is debt reduction. And in Canada, and around the world, you could argue there's bad debt, which is consumer debt. There's good debt and there's better debt. And I could do a whole documentary on that. But again, that's part of what my advisors will do. The other thing that ties right together that is cash flow planning, making sure that you have the right cash flow to make sure you're taking care of that debt and your bills and keeping the roof over your head and food on the table and clothes on your back. So yeah, just working with a financial advisor, doesn't matter if you're in Canada, India, the UK, or in the States, or anywhere globally listening to us, work with an advisor to get through that time to build that plan is important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Very, very. So let's now mosey on through the farm portion of your life. And what are you up to now? Like, what was the next thing that you got into?
So I just recently relocated back to India, and I was driving my car, and my friends and we were going out somewhere, and there was at the traffic lights, this really very, very cute girl. Okay, she just popped, and then she was drawing a smiley on the window. And she didn't realize, she didn't realize, we were watching her from inside. And she just was so innocently, drawing, making something on the window pane. And suddenly I, put my window down, and she was taken aback. She was like, oh, wait, there are people inside. Then I asked her name. She said her name was Shiva. And I asked her, if she went to school. She said, yes, I would love to if I got the opportunity. And that's when I felt, we as an educated society need to do something for these kids, on the street. Later on, I saw a lot of mothers with their babies drugged. In their arms, they used to beg on the street. I really felt, they needed help. But, when I talked to my friends, they were like, it's a whole, underworld thing involved with the whole begging industry. I have no idea what it is called, but it's a whole business wherein, people do it and do it for drugs, and those innocent kids have to, have to face all those consequences. They are drugged. We all friends collaborated. We have this NGO that is working for these kids, underprivileged kids from slums. We identified 4 slums in Mumbai, huge, they were huge slums, and those places were really, really difficult for anyone to live. We went there and we distributed educational kits to almost 6,000 kids. And now we are setting up libraries in those slums for these kids. So that's the next project. Yeah.
Very incredible. And so for people who listen to my other shows, they maybe have more of a familiarity with, we talk a lot about human trafficking. Human trafficking is the number 2 industry worldwide. And most people might think it's drug running and then war, but it's actually not. It's like drug running and then human trafficking, and then war, I think, is number 3 right now in terms of business. So it's big business to have people, again, at your beck and call because they're addicted to substances. So those people are in slums. The number of people who are dealing with addictions worldwide is absolutely mind-boggling. And what we can only do, though, is to really look in the mirror and say, how am I managing my own life? And then looking at that little girl, I'm just like that little sweet peanut Shiva. And for those who don't know who Shiva is in mythology, which I thought was very interesting. So many people here are familiar with Christ, with Jesus, and Jesus was the Son of God and the Lamb of God, and Jesus, or Christ consciousness, is all about being compassionate and kind and turn the other cheek and the sacrificial lamb. Shiva is about being compassionate, kind, and pure truth, right action in the present moment. So if somebody comes in your house and tries to do something to you, you give them a right in the kisser. so it's not like you turn the other cheek and take it. But so when you told us about Shiva, I was like, oh, so funny, because her name means this archetype. Her name means the archetype. And so you tell me from your perspective, like, because when we were sharing that early, like yesterday, we were like covered in goosebumps. So tell me from your perspective what you think of Shiva. Like, what's the god Shiva?
Shiva is the destroyer as well as the creator. He decides when to destroy, when to create. He takes the correct actions at the correct time, as you correctly mentioned. And that's what we are doing, with the kids. We are following a right path for them, and, aligning them, channelizing them towards the right path, because a lot of kids look at their surroundings, their parents going into drugs, they're doing wrong things for money. And the kids follow, what they see. But we want to create awareness for the kids and channelize them towards doing the right thing. So being Shiva and being a very huge devotee of Shiva, I think this is an opportunity where I can, and us, we friends, can, contribute our little bit towards their life.
I believe there was something significant about that moment that you shared about Shiva, the drawing on your window, and then also the connection you've made with us on the window,
on the dirty window.
The dirty window. Yeah. Oh, you should look at my truck right now. It's filthy. It's all melting snow and dirt. Anyway, that aside, there's something very divine about that. And then there's also something I feel very divine about how you and I met. And then you started becoming a huge fan of Leaha's Master Your Life show. You really have been sharing and liking and following every episode. So I do believe, and just a shout out to all the people that are in your network that have reached out to me and Leaha. Like it's quite substantial, and we thank you for all your love and support. So whatever you've done to connect and this whole collaboration and building community, that's what's been called in my heart, especially in this year, 2021. I think to spread good in the world, we need to collaborate. It's not one effort here, one effort there. The more we work together for this common good, I truly believe that can start to move mountains. Leah, your thoughts on that?
Well, and that you would have seen the value in that little girl. Like yes, that is near and dear to my heart. I've been working since 1991. So 30 years in counseling and in coaching and the resolution of sexual abuse, cases and clients that are adults. It's a very, very serious subject that most people don't want to talk about and they don't want to acknowledge is happening. And so it does take a lot of courage because you put yourself at risk, not just when you're working with client populations that are emotionally struggling and spiritually struggling and kind of waffle a lot, like they're into something and then they run away because they're scared. And then they're really in and then they're scared and fearful. But then you're also dealing with people who are criminals. And in the criminal aspect of things, I've had people in the last year say to me, why are you still doing this show? Like, I can't believe you're still talking about the truth about all the things that go on in the world when everyone who's got kind of the bright light is getting censored off of all platforms and are getting threatened, but what I say to them is, this is what I was put here for. This is why I was given a microphone. And so of course I'm going to continue in my quest, because this is what I'm here for. So when we were talking to you, I was like, it's just like you go, you're so sweet and you're humble, and you also a very fierce woman, because you have to have some ferocity in order to go into those slums. Like if anyone has, maybe you could talk a little bit more about what the slums are like. I had the really great privilege of going to Vancouver when I was in university and working in Vancouver with the kids who were on the street there. So I had lots of street work expertise, and it is not anything like you've ever seen, and it's very, very unsafe. But speak to what you see there in India, just to give people who are listening some context.
Before you do, I had to rewatch that one movie because we talked about it, was Slumdog Millionaire. And you have seen what goes on. And I watched that movie, and Leah had texted me saying, how you enjoying the movie? I'm like, well, it's great, but it's appalling at the same time, just the stuff that goes on. And I'm sure that's only just a snippet, just the tip of the iceberg of actually truly the evil that's going on there. So from your point of view, Yuga, if you choose what you want to dive into and talk about your experience there of seeing these children in the slums.
When I watched the movie, I was younger and I had no idea if that was the real thing. But Slumdog Millionaire is a true, version of how a slum looks like, So there were different versions of slums. So we identified 4 slums. One of them was just like, how Slumdog Millionaire was seen. The other was a complete underworld, thing wherein lot of crime. It was in a place called Govandi. That was a completely different scene. When we walked there, the person whom we were talking to, she said that you're standing right where, just few months back, a kid had murdered someone else. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was a very, very, very scary slum wherein, there is a lot of crime, and and people get away with murders just like that. That was a different kind of slum. And now what we are trying to do is we are trying to, get together all those kids, and we got them together in one of the meetings, and we asked them what would they like to be. And most of them wanted to become doctors and help others, especially during the lockdown and the corona scenario. The front end workers, the heroes were the doctors. And looking at all that, most of them wanted to become doctors. So these are tiny dreams that may come true if they are channelized properly. So that's something that we really want to do.
Yeah. Completely covered in goosebumps, those little sweethearts, right?
Mm-hmm.
That they still have their compassion intact after being born into that situation. It is an incredible thing to see and to revel in, that these beautiful little beings, and they're all around us in every country in the world and globally, just to see that's where the hope is, and that's where the help is for humanity, is recognizing these little sweethearts. So 6,000 children you brought educational packages to. How many kids and families are showing up to the community development things that you're working on? Like meetings, when you have meetings and things.
So not a lot. Yeah. And it didn't surprise us because, that's something that they are not looking forward to. They just there are two categories of families in the slum. One which keep producing kids so that they could help them earn more income, and the other is just illiterate about reproduction, and they don't care. Their kids are living in the worst of situation. They just, all they care about is to live that particular day, to have food in their plate. That's all they care about. So it's I don't know, I just get it's something that I can't describe. I experienced walking through those lanes. It has inspired me to do more towards this, and I'm sure I will. And moving forward, also due to the lockdown, the different villages in India, the education has completely stopped. We also want to do something for those kids in the villages. The scenario in villages is very different than slums. Those are good families in villages, but due to the lockdown, they don't have internet, they don't have phones, they don't have laptops to go do their online education. So kids are just sitting at home without the school. So yeah, we are also thinking on those lines, how we could help them.
Well, I just love your compassion for this, and you just truly are a humanitarian in every definition of the word. We need more leaders like you in every country, and you've described a situation that's so different than maybe what we experience here, but still, it's still a problem. It's just making a difference and just trying to unite the people. So Yuga, if you had a wish to just wish out there into the universe, I don't know how many people are watching today. There could be 34,000, there could be 2.1 million the last time we checked. What do you need in terms of support, resources, people on the ground? Describe a little bit of what that would look over this next year, 3 years to help you in your mission.
I think if people are compassionate enough, just compassion is more than enough. A lot of people want to help, but they don't know how to. So we through the social media. I mean, social media is such a huge has such a huge impact now in today's life. We send out messages asking for help. Immediately we get help. So it's just that compassion, that inner feeling of doing something for someone else is more than enough, and things just happen.
Yeah, beautifully said. And one of the things that we talk about on the show, or have talked about in private too, is there's so many people that are looking for ways to give. People who have lots of resources, but they really don't know what to do with them. And so we've been talking more and more about the concept of planned giving, because we're also moving into this age and era where wealth transfer is happening in the real world. And so what is the most strategic ways to do that. And Greg, maybe you can talk a bit about the planned giving.
Yeah. So what we see in Canada, I'm just going to speak from my perspective of what I've seen just in the territory. And again, I've got like 900 different advisors that work within our MGA or our brokerage. And there's one in particular, I'm going to mention her name because she just does this beautifully. And her name is Jane. And what Jane does and works with these big, I wouldn't even say high net worth clients, I would say ultra high net worth clients. And once you tip over 10 million Canadian Canadian dollars, that's a small fortune by any means. And you know what's so sad is a lot of this money is trapped in these big corporations. And at the end of the day, if they don't have proper planning and they don't do anything with it, they don't take action, guess who becomes the big beneficiary of it?
The government?
In the form of income tax.
I'm going to guess.
So let's just have a little trivia question here today, because I love to be a game show host.
He does.
Yeah, I do. So let's just guess for a second. I'll give you a multiple choice. We'll do like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, just like that movie, right? So let's do a movie. So guess what year in Canada, because it's different for everybody. Guess what year in Canada that income tax was introduced? Was it A, 1867? Is it B, 1917? Is it C, 1939? Or is it D, 1945? Yuga? What would you like to pick?
I am going to cheat.
No cheating. You can use the lifeline. 50-50, poll the audience, or phone a friend.
I got my answer.
What's the answer? Is it A, B, or C, or D?
It's 1916. Is it true?
Actually, 1917. So 1916 wasn't. That's when they talked about it. So 1917. And do you want to know the reason why they brought an income tax?
I do. I want to know.
You know the answer. Do you want to share?
No, you share.
Is it the First World War or something?
To fund the war effort. And guess what? We're still funding the war effort today with all that income tax. So my question to all the high net worth or ultra high net worth individuals that choose to do no planning with their corporation or their own personal estate, what kind of legacy do you want to leave? And I will bring up two different stories. So there's one in particular where, again, with the proper planning, there is actually laws and tax planning that you can do. And again, this is different across every country, but it's still a thing. The advisor can actually plan. And what Jane does within her practice is use a pipeline strategy, and they use actually corporate giving. So when you set up a corporation and donate to a charity or a registered nonprofit organization, there's tax advantages. In fact, if you do it right, you may actually not pay any tax upon your death, or if in a married situation, husband, wife that own the shares of this big corporation after the death of the second one, as it passes to the next generation, and all the different laws in unison. So I can go off on the weeds on a whole other thing. If you're curious to know and you're listening right now how to do that, please reach out to me. We've got some of these professional advisors that do this stuff day in, day out for families just like this. Because I'm going to ask you, what kind of legacy do you want to leave? Again, we talked about legacy in episode number 1 and 2 for 7-generational planning of how do we want to, hand this rich.
I remember.
Yes. How do we want to bring that out into the future? How are you going to be remembered with your family? That's our true legacy. If you have children and you've got a beautiful little boy, Aaron J. So cute. You got to meet Tanner on Zoom the other day.
So
fun. They loved it.
Yes.
Number 2. How do you want to be remembered by your friends? So stuff we're doing like this. This is making an impact in our community, in our networks. And Yuga, now you're a part of it. I love that.
Yes.
Number 3, how do you can leave a legacy kind of like the Make-A-Wish Foundation, like Frank Jankowitz. But why not donate to a charity or form a charity or legacy that could help what you're doing right now, like we're talking about, or some of the other things that, Leah, we've talked about of how to make a difference, whether it's the children, whether it's you got a love for animals, whatever. All the laws are there to actually help with this planning so you can pay less income tax for the quasi-war effort that we're still in today. So
yeah, and it's important. It's important. I know Greg's laughing because he's like, feel good, Greg. But I'll tell you, this whole war thing is a bad idea. And so nobody gets up in the morning and goes, you know what? I think it's a good idea that we send our kids out to shoot each other. And so somehow the population has really been drugged not a word of a lie. Do your little history checks there, folks, since like the early 1900s. In order to get people to do what humans have done through war, you have to be dissociated from yourself, because you could never do the harm that people do during war when you are a fully integrated human being. And so this is a really good time for you to, as a fully integrated human being, to withdraw yourself from the fiction of the continuing to support that tax effort. And you can check it. You can check out, lots of people have said that they think income tax goes to infrastructure. It does not go to infrastructure. All of your personal income tax goes to war, all of it. So it's all goes to that, the war effort. Yeah, exactly. So that's why war as a business it is always in the top 3. And so if there isn't a war going on in the world, there's somebody trying to start one, because it's a big business. And so, so it is important to be thinking about how do I keep the peace? It's by being a fully integrated person, being compassionate, and then taking steps that help yourself and to help others, because that's an extension of you. Anyone that you can impact in the world is a feel good, really.
Yes.
Feel good. Yes, exactly. So here you are with this wish on your heart for people to have compassion and to reach out. What's the best way to connect with you in your work? You've got 7 other people working with you as well. Do you want to maybe just talk a little bit about that, and then the connection factor?
So most of us are from BNI.
Oh, funny. All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yes.
So we all met. So BNI is the common platform, and it all connected us, and we all resonated, with the thought of doing something for the kids. And we came together. The NGO was formed. We became a part of it. Each one contributing towards the kids, and it's now a big family, not just the 7 of us, but many more, coming together, helping us out. So during the mission of distributing 6,000 educational kits to 6,000 kids, almost 200, 300 people associated with us, and we got that event successful. So that's the power of BNI. And also, I believe that when you are truly doing something for someone else, things just happen, there's this whole universe that wants us to do. And probably, God has given us that role on earth to do something for someone else.
Agreed. And Dr. Evan Meisner, the founder of BNI over 36 years ago, that giver's gain that we talked about with Janice Baskin on our show, what you just talked about is exactly that, but exemplified. I'll say totally exemplified. He'd be so proud of hearing what you just said right now. I hope he does hear this in this episode, because you know what? It is changing the way the world does business. That's the underlying tagline of BNI today. And look at this world of how we've had to adapt. And, this COVID, coronavirus pandemic, global pandemic, shutting the world down. Man, has it affected us in so many different ways. And you described one in a way that, I didn't even think of here, because you talked about the villages shutting down, and they don't have laptops. They don't have phones. They can't have the education now that those kids were so used to. So I'm just so in awe what you and your colleagues are doing to come together to truly make a difference. That is just, that just warms my heart, and I've got goosebumps all over just talking about it. I'm just so proud of what you're doing. You guys, so excited to have you even speak about it, right?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you. The thing is, it's just one step, forward. And I'm sure there are so many other things that we would collaborate and do. But we'll take one project at a time, so that, whatever we do becomes successful for those kids. And even if we impact one life, it's a huge accomplishment for us as human beings. So that's the ultimate goal.
One of the things that I loved also that when we were talking about this prior, when we were preparing for this interview, one of the things that you said is that like you've got your hands in the clay, so to speak, so you've gone to these places, you've helped people during really low times. You've gone into places that haven't smelt that great. They haven't looked that great. They've probably not been very safe. And still you come out with this idea of how do we actually make it better? And that's the little Master Your Life, anthem, really. The mantra is, how do we make it better? How do we make ourselves better? How do we help other people through mentorship, through coaching? But the inspiration really happens when you are doing the thing, not just talking about it, but when you're actually doing it. So you had mentioned that maybe you would be teaching these kids at some point in the classroom. Do you think that?
Yeah, and it was your idea, Leah. Thank you for that.
Just keep reminding you. Teach. But why is it important that you teach? What's important about that?
I believe that, I think you can, put it in words correctly. I'll just explain you what I learned from you yesterday. So when we are setting up libraries in the slums, we are just going to give them an opportunity to study what is there in the syllabus. But when you explain to me, more than that, we need to actually educate them to, teach them how to survive, about their mental health, about a lot of other things. I think you can, describe it so much better. Leah, why don't you do it?
Right. Well, because you're already doing it. So I just took what you guys are already doing. But when you're working with people in war zones, or when they're starving, when they're in survival mode, they're not really thinking about having a glossy life. They're just thinking about how to get the next piece of food in their mouth. So they really can't even learn very well. But the learning how to stand up for yourself and to have courage in the face of what seems like insurmountable odds. I laughed at the beginning of 2020 when our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, came on and said, we're living in unreasonable times. And everyone keeps parroting that. And then I think about like my life, Greg's life, lots of people's lives have been really blown up for a long time and you guys all know who you are. And then we go over and look at people who are living in these conditions and in unsafety and with enormous amounts of abuse. And, then we say, well, let's teach them a little something. It's like, but, how open is the vessel to being able to take in the teaching and into learning? And so one of the things that happens during war is that the winners always strip the libraries. It's one of the first things that they do. And they try to get rid of the history of the nation.
Burn the books.
Burn the books. Exactly. And so we see this right now in this cancel culture and people can, again, do your research, but it's happening all over the place, and censorship. When we get down to the basics, though, is teaching people about being goodly, godly humans. And that doesn't necessarily require a textbook, but it does come back to this, your understanding, I think, of Shiva and why Shiva was such an important part of the story. This little precious girl that showed up as, really the archetype of, let's burn this, let's regenerate things, let's burn down what doesn't work. And let's act in with the ferocity that's required. But people need to have inspirational mentors that they can see doing that work in order to do that work. And so here you are and your friends, whether that's 7 or 200 or 5,000, who are the best mentors that they could have, because they can look to you and go, holy, look at Yuga. She shows up every day and she's got a smile on her face, and she, is
the best smile
and so compassionate, listening, all of those things. So that's why I think it's like you need to teach, is because you teach by example, and you are such a wonderful example of, a divine being. So fantastic work.
Yeah. I'll just echo what Leah just said. I can only just put myself in the eyes of that small child that day, and being shocked as the window rolls down, thinking, oh my God, am I in trouble? And this beautiful goddess appears on the other side of Mrs. India. Oh my God. And it's so symbolic for what you're doing. We need more leaders like you, Yuga. And my call to anybody listening today live or that's going to listen to this recorded broadcast, please reach out. And you know what, if you feel inclined in your heart to help, please join us in this mission to make a positive difference in the world. That's my beck and call to all of you. Let's build this community. Let's collaborate. This is a new year. Mm-hmm. It's a new year of building and a new year of coming together. So Yuga, how's the best way to get a hold of you?
So I have my LinkedIn. I am mostly active on my LinkedIn. That's where, everyone can connect with me. It says Yugandhara Lad. So my name, Yugandhara, so I was renamed Yugandhara. Initially, I was named something else. My name was Nisha, but then my mom saw a lot of leadership qualities in me, and she changed it to Yugandhara. Yugandhara means the leader of the entire era. So Yug means an era.
Did you just get
Totally.
Totally.
Wow.
So she saw a lot of, leadership qualities in me. She saw the never give up attitude in me. Whatever happened, whatever challenges came my way, I always, stood up. I rose and I, fought back. So yeah, Yugandhara.
Love it.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
What a story of inspiration, I tell you.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely gorgeous inside and out. So that's the goal for all of the human beings. And I, again, just applaud your work with the kids. I'm a grandmother of 3 and just got announced. So for our little audience that listens in regularly, yes. So I've got 2 grandsons and a granddaughter, and just got announced yesterday that another grandson will be expected.
Congratulations.
Thank you. The beginning of July. And this is really important work that we're doing here. The sanctity of life, the preciousness of life, the preciousness of these children is our responsibility as adults. It's absolutely our responsibility as human beings to protect the little ones, because they can't protect themselves. It's our responsibility to do it. So with that, mantle, sort of take up the mantle of that and look around for people who are in trouble and help them out when you can. Help support moms who are trying to do their best.
Without hesitating.
Without hesitating. Exactly. Yes. Exactly. Be the man, as we said in whatever that was.
Or be Yuga.
Be Yuga.
Be Yuga.
Be Yuga. Be like Yuga. I tell you, the world needs more true leaders of the era like yourself. And I tell you, that is an understatement. As we've got to now showcase you on the show here live, I hope all of you realize what we both saw, because in our interview yesterday with you, we had goosebumps the entire time. And we even went way off in the weeds, even more than what we're doing today. So my mom's like, I want to know more. I know you're saying it, Mom. So we'll leave that for another day. But how we close out the show is, like I said, a plea for help. Number one is, how can they reach out to you? LinkedIn, they've got your name. Let's just, let the love pour out, and hopefully you get some people stepping up to the plate here, whether to donate their time, resources, or this planned giving that I talked about. It is a thing. So we can help you and connect you with people to make that happen, right? A lot of people just don't know how. Reach out. We'll make it happen. But we always like to close out the show with a song that kind of ties everything together. And we challenge you. I asked you, Yuga, what is your favorite song? And would you be willing to sing it? Because I know you have a beautiful voice. So what's the call? What's the song? And do you want to sing a little part of it?
Yeah, sure. I would love to. So this is a very famous song in India. It's based on the kids on the street. So it says, नन्ही मुन्ही बच्चे तेरे मुट्ठी में क्या है, मुट्ठी में है तकदीर हमारी. So it means, oh little child, what is in your hand? What is in your fist? So the child opens up his hands and he says, it's my destiny, which I will write for myself.
Wow. Wow.
Could you just sing that one more time? Because we actually have enough time to hear it one more time.
Can I, play it?
Yeah,
If that's okay.
sure. You have a beautiful voice, though.
Song. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So it's like, नन्हे मुन्हे बच्चे तेरी मुट्ठी में क्या है? नन्हे मुन्हे बच्चे तेरे मुट्ठी में क्या है? मुट्ठी में है तकदीर हमारी. That's all.
Oh,
I'll tell you what, for 4:30 in the morning.
Yes.
Yes. As a singer, I can tell you that is a tough thing to do. So much love to you, Yugandhara. I just think your work is incredible. Greg, do you have any final words?
I just absolutely love who you are, what you stand for. Keep doing what you're doing. I hope by today we've really set the stage for all the fans you've created, because you were one of our biggest fans, besides my mom. Yeah. And you, all the people in India that have reached out to us. So I can guarantee my phone's already lighting up. So thank you for what you've done, what you've said today. Whoever's watching live is already motivated by what you've said, what you've done. You said it best. You sung it best. Thank you, Yuga.
Thank you so much, Yuga.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Maybe we'll have you again. We'll see how things go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Would love
to. Because we're live.
And I want to say thank you to you guys for starting, mastering your life, because it has impacted me as a person. I've seen you guys since episode 1, and when you call these inspirational persons on your personalities on your show, when you understand about their life, you feel more motivated, because each and every person goes through ups and downs, and it's the downs that you really need to fight back and get up and rise. I think you guys are doing so good. A lot of people should listen to you, and you gave a lot of tips as well, how to live your life the correct way. So thank you guys for doing this for all of us.
Thank you.
Aww.
Thank you. Aw, that's right. That was an in-studio mask-free hug, everybody. Whoa, live it on the edge. So that's all for us. Thank you so much again, Greg, Yuga. We invite everyone to love yourselves, love each other, mind your minds. That's all for us. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for being a part of our program today. Master Your Life is a presentation of Leaha Mattinson Enterprises, Inc. Join us next time on Master Your Life, helping you to discover the very best of you.